Does this obviously rips out on your profile as well, bro?
Does it? That'd be great.
This is a first. I don't know if I've seen this before. So let me have a look.
Yeah, I'll double check too. I think I got a notification.
Yep, that's cool. That's so cool. Concurrent streaming. We going all across the world, baby.
I know.
Good
Excellent.
stuff. Love
Good
it.
morning, Jace.
Good
Well,
morning.
not morning.
How are you,
For
Mike?
you,
I
is it?
saw that you were doing some riding this morning out in the chill.
No, not this morning, mate. It was yesterday, buddy.
Mm.
It's all right.
Yeah, right.
One day you'll actually take notice of me.
Well, dude, actually had nothing to do with the comment I just realized, but the ankle's starting to improve. So so I'm out on the treadmill this morning. Only 5Ks, but now I've got
the treadmill. You don't. Is it just more convenient for you, the treadmill?
No. It's because it's the underbelly is softer. There's more suspension.
Okay.
Yeah, running on
for
the road.
ankle. Yeah. Cool.
So yeah. Anyway, hey team, what is going on? Good morning.
Morning.
Look at this crew coming in. I love it. Mike and I haven't done a podcast together for a while, so we're going to be starting this one in 2 minutes. So if you are coming into this one live, love to hear that you're in the comments and that you're here to play. Yeah.
Let us know how you are, what you're doing this weekend. It'd be good to hear everyone's out doing something fun.
What are you doing this weekend, mate?
Not a great deal, mate. Still playing nurse at home, looking after the wifey. So probably a bit of stuff with the boys. Might take them to the movies or something, get them out of the house if we can.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah,
we've got a wedding in the backyard. I'll see if you can see it. Like it's like 10 setups, and yeah. So Claudia's sister's getting married. So
good thing is you have a few drinks and you can just go straight to bed.
It's the best. So I'm going to be backloading my calories. There was fasting going on tomorrow morning, and we're good to go. So team, good morning. We're going to start this episode in 1 minute. Who have we got in here? Hello, Ash. Good morning. Lovely to have your company here this morning. Kenny is here. Of course, what do you say? Happy, Friday night. Nice one, Kenny. Coming in. Hello, Denise. Yeah. I hope you're having a beautiful start to, or rather end to your Friday. We got Jen Lovegrove. What's going on, Jen? And of course, Kenny says park run tomorrow. Kenny, you are looking absolutely fine. I've got to say that, mate. Super impressive.
He's the epitome of like consistency and dedication to himself. It's really good to see. Like if we could only show the brain journey, I mean, that to me is the one thing you and I need to work on so we can be billionaires. But that to me, like just the amount of accountability he has for himself is really awesome.
Well, the thing about it is that Kenny's just had his head in the game for a long enough period of time that the changes are starting to happen now. And so we've kind of talked about in previous episodes about how you go in and out of the game, and I think longevity is the most important thing. Keep your head in the game long enough and change will happen. Yeah. All right, guys. I think we are ready to get started in this episode. You ready to go, mate?
I'm ready. Crack the neck, got a coffee, good to go.
Let's do it. All right. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs. Now, in today's episode, we've got Coach Mike, one of our Better Body Academy coaches, looking spicy in his red outfit this morning. Very fast. How are you, mate? Good?
Oh, I'm always good, bro. It's so good to be back with you. I miss this, dude. I think it's something we need to make sure we do a lot more often. Good morning to everybody else too, or good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us today.
Lovely.
I'm doing good, man. I'm feeling good in red. Red makes me fast.
It does. It make you look quick as well. Guys, let's talk. Let's get straight into the episode. We want to talk a little bit about motivation, because I think a lot of people we've heard recently citing this idea that I just feel like I'm not motivated at the moment. And when we look at external conditions like the weather, when it's freezing cold outside, I don't know about you, but the weather demotivates me as well.
Yeah.
Right? when let's talk about you getting up for your cycles, but I don't know about you, but when I look outside and I look and it's just gray and dark, the last thing that I want to do is get out of bed.
Yeah,
Is that the same
definitely.
for you on your runs and your?
Oh, 100%, especially in winter when it's nice and warm and cozy and you've got, another body in the bed next to you that makes it another 20 degrees hotter.
Uh,
There is no chance I wanna get out of bed and do quarter to 4 in the morning and get on the bike and, yeah, freeze my nuts off. But yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
okay, so what happens if if you are reliant on getting motivated? Naturally, you're going to have times when you're not motivated, and you're going to have times when you are motivated. And so, if you find yourself hanging on and acting only when you're motivated, what are the consequences of that, Mike? Like, what do you see as being the problem with that?
The problem is the motivation boner always goes flaccid because I love that. Like
Mm,
you have made the best term with the motivation boner. That's the one thing that I think we need to throw around a lot more.
yeah.
Um, we all sit there and wait for that boner to be 100% erect all the time.
Mm.
It's never there. There are so many external factors that contribute to you having the ability to push yourself to the limit. If you don't want something bad enough, you will never have that motivation there.
And to align what humans are built to do, they're built to survive.
Mm,
That's the goal. The ultimate number one goal, which directs everything we do, is survival. And so anything that threatens our survival, we're not motivated to do, which is why we stay in the comfort zone, right? This is not being critical. This is just a fact. So, what we've got to learn to do is try to, how do we overcome and act on the times that we don't feel motivated? Because check this out, if you can act when you don't feel motivated, imagine what's going to happen when you do feel motivated.
yeah,
And what happens is naturally, as you create more momentum, momentum creates more motivation.
yeah,
And so you're going to feel less days of low motivation because you're in momentum, and momentum is the food for motivation. Does this make sense?
yeah,
So, indeed, what we are actually trying to look for is not something that's external to us, like motivation. What we're trying to do is develop an internal character trait. And it's
correct.
the big D that we call discipline. So, Mike and I now are going to run through 6 ways that we think are going to help you develop some discipline if you apply these suggestions. Now, you don't need to apply all 6, but we want to run through them in a very simple way to perhaps maybe give you yeah, that's the thing that I'm not doing. These podcasts are absolutely useless unless you take one of the pieces of information, as small as it might be, and go and apply it. So, 6
Yeah.
ways to create discipline. Let's start at the top with yourself, brother.
Oh, all right. I think the fundamentals of discipline, when discipline is by definition the ability to do something even if you don't want to do it, right? Mike Tyson, um, do the shit you hate doing, but do it like you love it. That's the only way that if you've got a goal of, running a thing or doing a thing, if you don't want and love that process that go through, it'll never happen. So the process is creating routines, right? Establishing healthy habits and creating routines. That to me would be number one on my list of the 6. Guess what we're talking today about, the 6 ways of getting discipline in your life. Okay, routine builds consistency in my eyes. Routine builds consistency. I love the fact that I have daily routines or weekly routines where I run through the same thing every single day because I know that it's the path to a goal or it's the blueprint to my next stage in life. We were talking about the other day how we are brain dumping, our future and our whether it's personal or business, but that's like establishing a habit and creating a routine for us to get
Mm.
to an end goal.
So, would I be right in thinking, like, when you say the word routine, because people are going to think to themselves, "Oh, create a routine, fucking great, that's helpful." But
Valid.
actually, if like, just to give a visual, would a routine be? a set or a collection of habits that have lined up that you can repeat with not too much additional effort. Is that like a
Yeah.
decent way to explain a routine?
Yeah, habit stacking, I guess, is
Mm,
another form of saying it, or a schedule. I don't know if we want to put it in a bit more of a program,
mm. Okay, so let's
a
let's talk about
routine.
let's talk about you. So
Yeah,
rather than kind of give an arbitrary description,
yeah,
can we talk about an example routine that you have? But I
sure.
want it to be something that's not a morning routine because that's
Yeah,
just too
no,
overhyped.
yeah, no, I don't do morning routines because they're so unadaptable to your situation.
Okay.
Okay, for me, for creating a routine for me would be like a daily routine in exercise. I make sure that I know times, dates, when I'm going to do that thing because then I make sure that that time's blocked out for me and I will not get sidetracked and I ensure that I get that through because that's part of a goal of XYZ body or XYZ running. Okay.
So do you
Um,
do you plan those workout days actually into a diary or a calendar of
Correct.
some sort?
Yep. Yeah. So I just use a Google Calendar because I can color coordinate it and I have it on my screen, so I know every morning when I wake up, I look at my diary and I go, okay, today I am training, legs and I'm running. So I know in the morning at 5 o'clock I'm running, and in the afternoon or whatever it is, time for the gym.
Mhm.
That's leg day.
Okay.
Booked in, done. Nothing can stop me unless it's an emergency. You
Okay.
know what I mean? So, but yeah, um, habit stacking is getting to a point where you want to, as I said before, we have a goal in mind for whatever it is in mind. You need to pull back that goal and break it down into something that's easily attainable week by week, month by month to get to that goal. You can't
Mm.
jump from here to there in
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah.
You need to go through those little steps, and that's creating healthy habits.
Well, this is the
And
perfect segue to the first one that I want to
yeah,
discuss, which goes nicely off that, and that is it is habit stacking, but it is you've got to start with the small things first,
mm,
right? So, as an example, let's pretend that you wanted to do a marathon, but you've not run in the last 5 years. That's going to be an extremely overwhelming prospect for you to be able to move towards. Let's say that your goal is to become a regular gym person, but literally you are 20 kilos, 30 kilos overweight and haven't touched a weight in 20 years. To go and think that you're going to be a regular 5 day a week person in the gym is like, it's crazy. And the consequence of trying to do it is that you try to go all in. And what ends up happening is you fail, you
mm,
assign meaning to the failure. You think to yourself, fuck, I'm just so useless now. And it just becomes this kind of, you fall off. So instead, what we've got to do, rather than try to be a 5 day a week gym program person, why don't we just try to do 2 body weight programs at home that are 20 minutes long?
mm,
This is an example of starting really small. The reason that we, inside Better Body Academy, we don't go straight from, oh, okay, what's your name? Come in. Fantastic. Now, let's get you eating intuitively so that you can do this for the rest of your life. We start you on a meal plan, which is meant to be no think, just do, so that you can then, once you're consistent in following a plan, you can then start to insert some variation. You can then start to add some customization, and you can then get rid of a meal plan altogether because you have developed the skill of tracking. And this allows you to take a small habit of you're not eating healthy at all, eating healthy with a structure, and
mm,
slowly building this up. Too many of us get so overwhelmed and we blame it on motivation. It's not
correct.
motivation's fault, it's your system's fault. You're
Yeah.
trying to take on too much too quickly and then failing, feeling guilt and shame, and then aborting the process totally. Do any of you guys know exactly what I mean when I'm saying this? We've got 15 people watching on live. Do you know
Most
exactly
of
what
you
I mean?
should, because that's
Yeah.
why you come to us for coaching.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Next one. Let's go.
Um, okay, we can't create habits in our life, and we can't take those little steps unless we're accountable for ourselves
Mm.
and the process too, right? Let's not just say ourselves and the process. So what I mean is, I like self-auditing. All right, I know it sounds like freaky and new age stuff, but for me, I love the fact that I can pull myself up every day and do a checklist on myself of have I done the things that I need to do to get to the goal that I want to be at, whether it's again body, cycling, business, whatever it is. I love the fact that every afternoon or every evening before I go to bed, I do a self audit. So it's a checklist. Okay, that's me being accountable to myself.
Is that
What
a
have I done
mental
today?
checklist or is
Yeah,
that
just
physical?
well, it's a bit of both, right? The next day I'll start with my list of things to do, and I'll go back of the day before and do a checklist and audit on what I did yesterday and whether I
Mhm,
need to add some stuff onto it. But
mhm,
but for me, of an evening, it's a mental checklist for me to go, okay, I didn't hit my calorie target today, or I didn't hit my protein target today. Shit, I got to have a protein shake before I go to bed. Number one. Number
mhm,
two, steps aren't done if that's what I was doing. Go for a walk around the house. Number three, I didn't sleep well last night. Fuck.
mhm.
I need to make sure that tonight I'm going to forego getting up at 5 o'clock. I'm going to get up at 7 to get that extra 2 hours to make
All
sure
right.
I have seven
So I'm
hours
going to
sleep.
challenge you with a comment, and the
Go.
comment is this: you are pretty self-aware as a guy.
Yep.
You have stacked a bunch of habits around your fitness and your life, which makes that easy.
Yep.
What do you do if you're someone that's just starting in trying to get themselves in shape, and at the end of the night, you start to do that mental checklist and realize you're a fucking failure? Like what how do you navigate that?
I think you need to have good support around you
Mhm.
because I think that's something that
All right,
will,
keep going.
will
So
trigger.
what if your partner is just like not supportive of your goals or
Doesn't have to
enabling
be.
you to stay the same?
Yeah, well, again, how much do you want it? Like the question I want to ask is when you put yourself out there to change and to become a better version of yourself or whatever it is,
Mm,
and in life you've failed at a lot of things, right? We get to a point where we've failed as a human because we're overweight and we're depressed and we're anxious and we've had
mm,
all these things happen to us. But we put our hand up and ask for help, which is courageous, mind you. You have to be accountable to yourself. No one's going to fucking show up to show you the way. No one at all.
mm,
It's only you. You versus that reflection in the mirror. So you have to be accountable. You have to justify to yourself why you're fucking up and why you are not following the process or why you're not doing those things that you need to do to get to your goal. You
mm,
can't rely on anyone else. You need support. Yes. Are they always going to be there? No.
mm.
No.
So I want to come back to a previous point that I've said. If you get to the end of your day and you're doing Mike's kind of self review, you're doing an inventory of how you went about your day, and you feel like you're failing, right? And your partner's not supporting you, probably because they feel shit about themselves as well.
Yeah, definitely.
What you need to do is dial it back and say, "Ah, hang on, okay, have I taken on too much here?" Right? So a lot of people, they want to go from zero to hero. They're like, okay, tomorrow, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go and do a 30-minute run on the treadmill. I'm going to pick up the kids from school. I'm going to go shopping and do it's like you were doomed to fail before you actually started. And then the problem with it is that when you break word with yourself,
Yeah.
you deepen your sense of failure. So it's not about being a pussy on your goals. It's about stepping back and making them actually practical. So don't try to take too much on
Yeah.
at once at the start. And then when you get your inventory at the end of the day, that mental inventory that Mike talked about being accountable, well, guess what? You're going to feel a sense of like, okay, I tick that box, right? I tick that box. You will know if you're the type of person that has a really harsh relationship with yourself. And if you have got that and you keep setting these like goals which are just so uncomfortable to you that you never actually hit them, you're really your own worst enemy because you're constantly pushing that same sense of failure down your own throat. And so let's merge into my second point is that I think that to develop discipline, you've actually got to be comfortable at being better at failing than being successful.
Yeah.
And like this is like it's a really hard thing to live in, like constantly failing. And like I think I want to talk about this in a way that's not like people try to pretty up failure and they say the cliche, but they don't actually believe it. Like they
Yeah.
say, "Oh, yeah, you got to be, yeah, you got to fail." But then the moment they fail, they're like, "What's wrong with
Yeah.
me?"
Self-destruction. Yep.
Self-destruction, right? So
Yeah.
many people say shit and then do the exact opposite when it comes to managing themselves.
Yeah.
You have to literally ask yourself, like, let me simplify it. The reason that any person, myself included, is not where they want to be in life. Is there anyone listening to this live that is exactly where they want to be in life? I am not.
Yeah.
I am
I
not.
challenge people to say that they are to prove it.
Yeah. Do you know what? Like, if you are, that's amazing.
Mm.
I'm not. No way in the world.
I
And
don't
so,
think I want to be. I don't think I want to be because, um, like there is no end point. I like the challenge. I like the challenge. I like the fact that I do have goals and I want to achieve them and attain them. But I also like the fact that um, that I embrace the fact that failure will push me even further to something different or something better or bigger.
a couple of our viewers popped up their hand and said, "Nope, not yet." Can I just like
Mm.
share an insight with you guys? Guess what's going to happen when you finally get to where you want? There will be a moment which might last up to 24 hours
Yeah,
of you being grateful and happy. And the moment you entertain this thought, which is, well, if I just achieved that, that's taken me 10 years to get to, imagine what else I can achieve. And the
yeah,
moment that you have that thought, you've just thrust yourself back into, I'm not there yet again.
yeah,
And that's life. That's not a bad thing. That's the ambition. So if you're an ambitious person, the truth is you are living failure 99% of the time. And the hardest part is when you're struggling, you've got to be sitting there going like, "Oh man, like I'm struggling and this is hard and I'm exhausted, but this is the process."
yeah. Correct. And
Troy
that's
says,
the part we need to fall in love with.
"Yeah,
Yeah,
so the gap,
yeah,
yeah, 100%. You're in the
yeah,
gap, and you're always
yeah,
going to be in the gap. If you, the only person that's not in the gap is the person. I want you to, for those that are watching live, imagining a person on one side of the cliff and the other side of the cliff, and you want to jump this kind of valley here of to get to your ideal life. That's the visual. The only two people that are not in the gap is the person that's not trying, or the person that has stopped being ambitious because they're kind of like, you know what, that's just where I'm going to go. And there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that if you get to that point. Question from Troy is, not being where you want to be doesn't mean you've had a failure. No, I think that
No.
the kind of what I always sort of talk about, Troy, you might remember back to Mastermind program, is that you've got to have equal amounts of both ambition and gratitude. So imagine like, I've heard it described as the walk of success contains
Mm,
two parts. There's ambition, there's gratitude. Gratitude helps you to be grateful for what you've achieved so far and happy with what you've got. But then the next step is, if you spend too much time in gratitude, well, then you stay where you are.
yeah.
You need ambition to move you forward. But if you spend too much time in ambition, you never have the presence to be able to say, fuck, actually, my life is really good.
Mm,
So you have to have equal amounts, Troy, of both gratitude and ambition in order to continue to A, move forward, and B, to feel like you're experiencing happiness. And I think your failure is part of that. Mike, let's go
I
to,
think we could also add a third leg in there of fear, like embracing fear and that pushing gratitude, but also ambition as well. Like I reckon there's a third leg, maybe, mate.
yeah, well, do you know what?
Because
I think,
the gap brings fear, right? Because
yeah,
it's a everlasting falling platform to get to the other side, and that's fear. Like it's the biggest motivator and demotivator.
I'll give you an example. I am, uh, Mike and I have talked about really kind of finding next levels in our academy. and what to do to really propel client results to the next level. What can we incarnate or do, and it's actually scary. It's actually scary because you start to think to yourself, well, what if it goes wrong? Or what if it doesn't work? Or what if it causes me to go backwards? But you have to have that. You have to be willing to walk towards it and then just go, you know what? Like, worst case scenario, it's shit and I have
And
to
you
start
start
again.
again. Yeah,
You start
that's right.
again. That's it. It's not going to kill you. Mike,
No.
third component of developing discipline.
I think the way to stay motivated is to manage the tough times, the cravings. Like, let's talk purely weight loss. Okay, we're fat loss coaches. This is our game. Managing cravings, right? Like, it's one of the hardest things to do, regardless of if it's weight loss or not. But managing those things that pop up that you want to sneak off to, or you want to eat, or you want, because they give you instant gratification.
Yeah.
So for me, like, okay, I'm a sweet tooth. I love sweets of an evening. I know they're going to affect my weight or they're going to affect my sleep, but I love them. And so the best thing to do is find alternatives in cravings, right? Whether it's, for me, sweets, I love grapes. So I have grapes in the middle of the fridge. So when I open the door and I look in the fridge for something sweet, there's grapes, bang. I've got an instant hit of sugar, but I've also got fiber and I'm also looking after myself in a better way. So um, little tricks of of the Jedi mind to try and enforce the fact that they're going to pop up. But there's nothing wrong with it, right? So bar counter bars is another thing. They're 100 calories, 120 calories for a bar with 12 grams of protein. One little strip of Cadbury's chocolate's 100 calories. There's fuck all protein in it. Again, perfect swap. Tastes like chocolate, getting hit of protein. My calories aren't getting destroyed too hard, but I'm looking for ways to change my mind to trick it into saying, hey, you're still going to have a treat. It's going to benefit you a lot more by having fiber and protein, and you're not going to beat yourself up going, oh, for fuck's sake, I've gone to the next stage and I've eaten the whole block.
Let's talk more generally about, like, when you get a craving. It doesn't have to be a food craving. It can be an alcohol craving. It can be a porn craving. It can be anything where there's a perceived destructive force, and not from anyone else's judgment, but in your life. Like, I can remember when I was, younger, and you get like a cocaine craving. It's like, it's it's inhibitory to what you want to do, but it's like this thing comes up. And I think the challenge is we act quickly. If we can develop you termed it managing your cravings, but let's be more specific. Delay gratifying.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say you get the craving come up, and it's alcohol, and you struggle with alcohol. Or let's say it's like getting knee deep in a tub of ice cream, and you're struggling with your weight, right? It's not that you need to be able to deal with your entire relationship with alcohol or ice cream in that moment. Instead, you've just got to be able to get through the next 5 or 10 minutes where the craving is like coming up to the surface. And often what ends up happening, how many times have you had a craving about something, someone calls, or you go to the gym, or you get distracted with a conversation with someone, and all of a sudden the craving just disappeared because you just didn't give it attention.
Yeah. What was the trigger though? Like, that's the thing that we've got to work on managing or maintaining is like, how can we control the impulse or the trigger? Is it procrastination? Do you crave procrastination? A lot of people do, right? A lot of people love procrastination because it takes their mind off the shit that they need to do. What's the trigger for it? Are you overwhelmed? Are you too busy? Have you overloaded yourself? Have you taken on too much? Are you pushing yourself to failure all the time? Are you not embracing that? Like,
do you know the number one, if we could generalize this, the number one trigger for most people of whatever cravings that they've got is their environment. And what I mean by that is the people and the setting, right? Often, simply by changing your environment, you remove the trigger of that craving. And remember, this is a conversation
Yeah.
that we're having, an open conversation, talking about how do you be able to stick to what you want to do by creating discipline and not relying on motivation. Now, when your motivation is low, your willpower is low, and that's when you're most susceptible to caving into whatever it is that keeps coming up for you,
Yeah.
right? And so there is some, when we talk about self-regulation, it's kind of like being able to realize in the moment that I don't need to delay this for the rest of my life. I don't need to try to give up alcohol for the rest of my life now. I just need to push it back for the next 5 to 10 to 20 minutes until the impulse loses its
Subsides.
strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, let's
Yeah.
go to I guess my final point on creating discipline is, and this is coming partially off the back of my own experience over the last couple of weeks, is being clear in what you actually want. And that sounds just so obvious, right? I had a moment, guys, I'm going to share it with you. I look all day at my vision board. It's here in front of me when I run a podcast, when I run a training, when I'm just sitting here working by myself. The problem I realized is this is 2021. Everything on my vision, and people, switch off when they hear vision board because it doesn't matter. This is what I want. Everything that's in front of me, I've already got, and I haven't updated it. So I'm getting what I'm looking at. It's cyclic. I'm just getting back what I'm putting out there, which is in front of me, and I'm looking at it all the time going, why isn't nothing changing? It was because it's in
Nothing
front of me.
changes if nothing
Nothing
changes.
Yeah. And so for me, it was a realization, and it's taken maybe a year and a half to come to the realization that I need to get really clear in what I want, both from life and from our mission and what we're trying to do here. And when you're clear, this does two things. Number one, it gives you purpose and intention and focus in what you do. That's important.
Big point.
But if your goal requires any other person, and almost every single person in the world is not self-made, so you are going to have to rely on partners, friends, family members, employees, whatever it is. When you get incisive or decisive about what you want, you will have a level of energy about you which everyone else can feel your intention.
Yeah.
And so if you need people to be in your circle to help you bring upon whatever you want to do, they're going to see, man, this guy or girl means business. But if you're not clear in exactly what you want, you're going to lack focus for yourself, and they're not going to buy into your ideas because they don't understand the clarity of your ideas. Any sort of final thoughts to add to that?
Yeah, I think touching on the word visualization or visual, I think there's a reason why the windscreen is bigger than the rearview mirror, right? If we spend so much time looking back,
fuck, that's good. Never heard that.
If we spend so much time looking back behind us, we forget what's in front of us, right? So the windscreen's fucking open. It's massive. That little reminder of the past doesn't need to be put into process. So for me, visualization in everything you do, it's like the old adage where you say, I haven't seen the yellow car before, and then you visualize the yellow car, and all of a sudden you can't see nothing but yellow cars coming around.
Yeah.
In life, anything that you want to do, there's a process, and it starts by having a dream, and that's visualizing yourself in that position. Being present with that moment. I love the fact that I have changed my whole entire life in 5-6 years time in my career, but I had the audacity to visualize it and go, well, fuck me, I don't want that life that I had before. I want this life. I need to make this life. So I've got to put it in place. But every day that I thought about it, and those little things, the processes, like the things that we talked about today, having the ability to be accountable, having the ability to create a routine and habit stack, they're all part of the process. But visualizing where you want, who you want, having your circle really small so you can control everything. Steve Byron's probably got the best analogy I've ever heard is if you want people to join you on your journey, you've got to control the bus. You got to drive the bus. If they want to get on, you open the door, you let them on. If they don't want to be part of it, they can fuck off at the next station.
Dude, I love that.
Ultimately, having the ability to foresee where you want to go and embracing the failure, not wearing it as a badge of courage, but acknowledging the fact that you did fuck up and you can fix it. But you've got to have a visualization process. You've got to have the ability to look into that future and see how expansive it is and believe in yourself.
Okay, so let's to make this practical, let's do a 1 minute recap of which I'm going to challenge you to take one of these things, because at the end of the day, like I said, podcasts are another form of procrastination where you feel like you're doing the thing, but you're actually not unless you do the thing. So let me give you the 6 takeaways as a recap. This is about creating routines. So if you don't have repeatable routines in your life, if everything's kind of ad hoc, it's going to be very difficult for you to create discipline because you're so exposed to externals, the weather, etc. Next is being able to have an end of day process where you audit what you've done. And if you're constantly feeling like you're not hitting the stuff you want to do, then either eliminate the things and just start a bit smaller, which goes into one of the ideas that I talked about, which is just master the mini things first. Don't try to go overwhelmed, and then we can
celebrate them too, right?
Yeah,
Let's add on to that. Celebrate those mini wins because they're just as important as the big ones, if not more important.
Totally.
10 mini wins versus 1 major win outwins it all the time.
We talked about managing cravings, and we discussed that as delaying the satisfaction for a little bit until the craving goes away. That's the practical takeaway. So just like try a bit of monitoring this weekend. Whenever you get that kind of feeling coming up, that's not to say that you can't enjoy shit. But here's a great example, a classic example. When you're in the pub having a couple of beers with some boys or girls this weekend, or having a couple of wines, when you get that craving to like, oh, let's get pissed, have the presence of mind just to push it away for 15 minutes while you let your common sense or awareness kick in that, you know what, like tomorrow morning when my kids are wrestling me at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going to feel like this. So it's about delaying the gratification. We talked about number 5, being better at failing. Stop talking in cliches about failure. And when you're struggling through your days, just understand that that's you wading through waist deep water trying to get to the other side. That's not separate to the process of success.
No.
And then finally, I guess take it from what I can tell you here, we've got to get a little bit clearer in what we actually want, because if you're getting in your car every day and kind of driving, you're going to end up somewhere, but it's not necessarily the place that you want to end up because you haven't got the GPS turned on. So hopefully there's some nuggets in here. Let us know in the comments if something has hit a note for you. More often than not, guys, this isn't more information. This is a reminder. And podcasts need to be a reminder of which you go, oh, yeah, I stopped doing that thing. I stopped doing that thing.
So important. That got me goals. That got me to the place that I want to be. And then complacency comes in, our old mate complacency, and we just stop. And then everything
we don't know why we stopped. It's just a human condition that we just stopped, right? We stopped doing that. And it's kind of crazy.
Because the comfort zone comes as well.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
So, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. I've just got a DM off Troy, and I'm not going to read out the whole DM, but he just thanked us and said, "Such good timing listening to you both this morning." So, no problems, Troy. I'm glad you were able to catch it. So, guys, we're going to leave it there. If anyone wants to stick around and have a chat with Mike and I, I'm more than happy to do so. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast, coming to you live on a Saturday morning Australian time, Friday afternoon for the rest of the world. We love you guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.
We do.
Does anyone want to discuss? Sammy said some big nuggets there. That's awesome, Sammy. Hopefully
You weren't on the toilet?
Yeah, unless you're sitting there watching from the dunny. Awesome.
How old is that? The Danny?
The dunny. Guys, any kind of follow-on chat you guys want to ask about or have or feel that's relevant, or maybe some advice or
Thoughts?
commentary as to
Yeah,
what's
thoughts,
helped you to
feelings.
build. That's by
Who's
no
going?
means a definitive list. In
You have
bed, have
definitely
definitely given
given
up on
up.
myself. Have defo given up, to be honest, on myself. At times, I think, Sam, you've been your own worst enemy, and
Yeah,
here's the thing, Sam, you operate in such polarity, right? Your shit days and your amazing days are like kilometers apart, and
yeah,
it's really tough to get a handle on those things.
yeah.
Just
It is, and knowing Sammy pretty intimately, it's the perfectionism trait coming out again
yeah.
of trying to do everything absolutely 100% correct. It's
Mm,
trying to be absolutely there for everybody in life, which you can't be. You've
mm,
just got to show up for yourself. You got to show up for your hubby and your kids, and they're the most important things. Um, so I think you need to just go back to those simple things in life and embracing who you are and figuring out what's the next step in life for you coming up towards your change of business or whatever it is you've got to do in life. You've got to go back to basics and go, hey, I need to stop. I need to slow down. I need to have a look at what's actually important at the moment. Is this thing that's pushing so much pressure on me so important? No, it's not.
mm,
It's
mm,
the other thing that, yeah. No, you don't need to see failure as not failing. You need to see it as lessons. You need to see failure as lessons. We fail because we fuck up, because we've done something wrong, because we missed something, because we're so divided by maybe a goal that's just got in our way, that's not supposed to be there. Failure is okay. It's continually failing. That's when we become a failure, right? Continually failing, continually doing the same shit wrong all the time without trying to correct it. Failure is great. Failure is lessons, but continually failing, that's when you really need to pull your head in and go, is this thing right for me? Probably not. If I
mm.
can continue failing at it, have I actually looked in the process of doing it? No, I haven't. I'm winging it. Oh, I need to get someone to help me. Failure's okay. Yeah,
All
love
right,
that
I
one.
love it, guys. We're going to love you and leave you there. Thanks for coming on the podcast this morning, Mike. We'll
All right.
chat to y'all soon. Have a beautiful weekend. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you soon.